like the nations one and five, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda is a pre-application for the minor subdivision of 351 Ridge Lane LLC. We have our expert Rich Warren here to follow up on that for us. Rich, the floor is yours.
Hi. Good afternoon, Rich Warren, planning consultant for the Village of Sagaponack. As you probably know, you don't see very many subdivision applications coming through the village, but the process requires an applicant before they actually make a formal submission to make a pre-application to the village, which that was done with this application. It requires a public hearing, allows the village to offer some comment to them so that they can look at their plans, for getting them together in a format that the board would consider approving when they come in with the actual formal application. So the process requires a public hearing. It also requires the preparation and submission of a pre-application report by the Board of Trustees. So this is a report. This is your report, even though I've prepared it for you. It follows the format that we've done for other pre-application reports. So it's about 7 pages. I'm not going to read it, but I'll just go through the highlights of it. This is a 33-acre piece of property south of Bridge Lane. It's improved with a single-family residence and a number of structures on it. Approximately 13.24 acres of the property is within a reserved area that was established through an easement granted to the Peconic Land Trust. It's in the R120 zoning district, and they're looking to divide this into 2 distinct lots. The northerly lot would be unimproved except for several agricultural buildings. The southerly lot would contain the existing single-family residence and some accessory structures. You had a public hearing, so I'm just highlighting as you want to go. If you want to go through it, we can do it together. It had a public hearing on July 17th. You had no public comment. You had no written comments. No one spoke other than the applicant, represented by John Tarbett. The next section on page 2 are the review standards, and then followed by some discussion. And the findings and the recommendations. This is actually where the board would need to agree with what I put in. This was circulated before. I only received a couple of comments back from Bill Tillotson. I assume everybody else is comfortable with the report. So in terms of findings and recommendations, 1, the proposed 2-lot subdivision plan shown on the map prepared by Saska Surveying, last dated March 19th, 2024, is logical from an overall planning perspective. I believe it is. You're required to do open space preservation in the village. They've already done that voluntarily on their part. We've confirmed with the village attorney that that part could count towards the open space requirement. 2, the applicant has demonstrated the subject property with its private deed restrictions is entitled to 2 lots. We spent a fair amount of time with the applicant going through their yield plans because it took a little bit for them to understand how yield is done in the village. But we did wind up with a conforming yield plan. There are no flag lots in the plan. Each lot has 40 feet of frontage, which is the minimum in the code. Each lot meets the minimum lot width of 200 feet. Each lot demonstrates that they have 120,000 square feet of lot area exclusive of any easement or any area consisting of wetlands. Each lot demonstrates conforming building envelopes, and the map had shown a theoretical park on the yield plan. So they were able to demonstrate they're entitled to 2 lots, and then they adjusted those lots, as you can do in an open space plan, to move the boundary lines a little bit since they've demonstrated they're entitled to 2 lots, and that's what they've done with the plan that you see before you. The open space requirements in section 245.12 have been met. In 1988, the property owner voluntarily restricted a portion of the property with wetlands and prime agricultural soils with the Peconic Land Trust through the reserved areas and the conservation easement. At the present time, 66% of the property is protected. The code only requires 65% when you're in the Ag Overlay District and within the R120 zoning district. So they've met that requirement. and the resulting residential improved lots, there's supposed to be an S on number 4, I missed it, lot, it says lots. They'll conform with the R120 residence district requirements of the village. The vacant lot has an existing tennis court on it that will be removed, so that this way they are able to put a lot line between the area where the tennis court is and the existing house. So, in terms of findings, the Board of Trustees finds a proposed 2-lot open space subdivision plan is appropriate as illustrated on the subdivision map of 351 Bridge Lane LLC prepared by Saska Surveying, last date of March 19th, 2024. The trustees find this application qualifies for processing as a minor subdivision under section 190-5. You're allowed to do that with open space plans, and you're allowed to do that with subdivisions that are less than, I think it's 4 lots, and also for those that don't cause any roads to be installed. So this would qualify for that. The Board of Trustees finds that the 2-lot plan is generally consistent with the goals and objectives of the 2007 comprehensive plan, and I've listed what those standards are here in the code for those that want to read that. The Board of Trustees recommends the following. The applicants submit the application to and secure a realty subdivision approval from the Health Department for the 2-lot subdivision as shown on this plan by Saska Surveying, and provide a copy of that approval with any final subdivision plat submission. The application for final plat shall meet all the requirements established in Article 9 of Chapter 190 Subdivision of Land. I wanted to have that specifically in here because we struggle with maps that come in and people aren't reading the code in terms of what has to come in. So I wanted to make sure that they know they should go through that section of the code and have everything on there. In order to deem the application complete, the plan should be removing certain notations on the map because they have things on the map that are generally not on a subdivision map and even not on certainly not on a final plat. They have, and I've listed those, 2 red circled areas that are talking about trees to be removed. That's an action, that's not a subdivision. If they want to do that, they need wetlands permits for it. Existing fences within the wetlands area that are noted to be relocated, that should come off of there as well. Notation of existing wood walkway to be removed should be taken off. Notation of existing trampoline to be removed. And notation with arrows pointing to existing fence that says all fences within agricultural areas to be no greater than 6 feet in height. Now, those are all notations that you typically would not see on a final plat. There were a couple of things in the report that I provided to the board before that we've asked the applicant to address. They're aware of it in the last report, but I wanted to be sure that it got carried through so that we don't wind up at the end of a final plat submission where they haven't cleaned up some of the issues that we see on the property. There are areas to the west of the house where you have fencing that goes off onto adjacent property. So I've asked that the applicant address the satisfaction of the village building inspector, the relocation removal of existing fencing that currently extends beyond the applicant's property line, as well as fencing located with areas identified as wetlands on the site. The applicant shall address the satisfaction of the building inspector, the use of the 1-story frame building that is located within the reserve area. And if you remember, we found that when they gave us the last map to the village, there was an indication of a sanitary flag that was never shown on prior maps and a well in close proximity to the sanitary flag. But we don't know what the use of that building is. I went back with John Woodsman, we looked at the files, and it was originally approved as a barn with no indication of any kind of sanitary. So I've asked it to they determine to the satisfaction of the building inspector that the use that they have there is legal, and if it's not, then they'll have to deal with that to get it straightened out. Applicant shall address the satisfaction of the building inspector the chicken coops that are on the property. They appeared sometime after 2008 when you look at the aerial photography of GIS. And since you have a village code requirement that requires special approval for the keeping of chickens, they should discuss with a building inspector whether or not they have the legal right to keep those chickens there. And if not, they should apply to get that. And the subdivision map shall depict the location of all existing utilities within Bridge Lane in proximity to the subject parcel, which is something that is typically required. So from an engineering review point of view, that Kevin Peterman would be doing, that the application would not be deemed complete. The final plat application that would come in would not be deemed complete until the village engineer is satisfied with the plan. And from an environmental review, they should be submitting an EAF Part 1. And then we would prepare the EAF Part 2 and Part 3 and provide a secret determination for the board to adopt. So this is the pre-application report that you would give to the applicant. It would be valid for 1 year from the adoption by the Board of Trustees. And you would be essentially telling them to proceed with the map that you're looking at right now on the screen with the notations as I've mentioned. So I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. If there aren't any, my suggestion would be the board would adopt this report and then you would send it to the applicant.
Anyone on the board have questions?
Yeah, I just have one. What is the process after the pre-app, after we send them the pre-app? What's their response and what's the timing?
So once you send this report, the ball is back in their court. You will not see it until they have completed health department approval. So they'll have to get their map put together to get a health department approval that's going to show water and sanitary and the things that the health department's looking for in a subdivision. And then they'll prepare a final plat that meets the standards, and then it'll come back. If I had to guess, you probably won't see this for another 6 months. But in the meantime, they have to talk with the building inspector about some of these issues that we see on the property, how they're going to straighten out the fencing, the chicken coop, the barn. They need to get that stuff straightened out because I'm not going to recommend that you deem the application complete when it comes in for final until those things are resolved. We can't just keep kicking the can down the road on those. Those are things that need to get resolved.
And Rich, just to close the loop on Trustee McMillan's question too, the pre-application report, if it's approved tonight or this afternoon, is only valid for 1 year.
Yes, it could be extended. I mean, we have extended them in the past, but typically it's their responsibility to come back to the village and say, I need more time before I can file the final plat. So the board has extended them in the past.
Any other questions from the board? That's great, Rich. I'm amazed how rapidly you gave us that much information. You're probably gonna need a drink or something right now. But I'm gonna make a motion. Make a motion to approve this pre-application report unless there's a problem. You guys okay with it? Okay, well, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees. There's a whole preamble to this, which we're going to deem read. Okay, unless you want to read it.
No.
Okay.
Not today.
Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees that the Board of Trustees hereby adopts the pre-application report and that the applicant shall submit to the Board of Trustees a final application for final review, meeting the requirements of Chapter 190, Article 3, Section 190-5, and Chapter 190, Article 6, Sections 198-18 through 190-23, inclusive of the village code, consistent with the pre-application as currently proposed, and that this does expire in a year, though we could extend it. Anyway, I'll make that motion to approve this. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much, Rich.
You're welcome. It's always my pleasure.
You're free to go, Rich.
Okay, thanks. Nice seeing you. Hope everybody's well.
Good thing
So long.
Bye, thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Next up is a site plan application for 35 Spud LLC, which is 35 Potato Lane.
Hi, I'm John Bennett, Reed, Melissa Dedovich, Conic Environmental, Kelly Calbacker is here. Melissa?
No, she didn't come.
We were last on June 19th, and we received some comments from Mr. Warren and Mr. Peterson. We responded to those by July 10th. The response from the village comments prepared by Rainer submitted. I do have something today, which seems to be Mr. Peterson's response. And I don't have words that I do his mouth, but he seems like he's happy with Kelly's response, not surprisingly. I'm very proud. But the conditions that access to the private right of way must be clear at all times, so as not to disrupt access to adjacent residences. Happy with that condition. If you should impose it, it's proper. And the applicant shall be responsible for repairing damages to private right of way incurred as a result of the subject application. You should include that, we have no problem. If somebody makes a mess of the road, they during construction, they should fix it. Regardless of whether or not it's private or public road. You could argue, as if you were sitting like a road review board, you could require that anyway, so we have no problem with any of that. And I just, unless the board has any further comments, this is sort of a neat application. It's a 3-story house, it's going to a 2-story house, it's a house that doesn't conform with GFA. It's gonna conform, there's a 2,233 square foot reduction in the GFA. It's sort of referring to this with the ZBA and the ARB as you never see this.
You're not always advocating for a reduction.
Usually not.
I saw the house when they presented the AHRB and the CBA, and it's a great looking house. Yeah, very nice. Let's see, Kevin, do you have comments?
No further comments. So Kevin Peterman from LKMA is the village engineer. And first, I believe this is the first time I'm seeing some of the new board members, so congratulations to you all. I look forward to working with you. Regarding the application for 35 Spud, we have reviewed the revised design materials dated July 9th, and we found that the applicant sufficiently addressed our previous comments. As a quick reminder of project scope, it's a 1.81 acre previously developed single-family parcel with frontage along the Atlantic Ocean. The applicant submitted a site plan application to demolish the existing residence and associated site features to make way for a new single-family residence, complete with a new sanitary system, stormwater management system, swimming pool, spa, patio, and landscaping. Our original review of the design materials identified a few items that needed to be addressed, including drainage design, grading along the property lines, and among the most important, soil erosion and sediment control measures. The revised plans that were submitted addressed all of our comments and appeared to be in conformance with village code. As such, we have no further comments. However, we'd like to point out that the application does require an export of approximately 1,178 cubic yards of material, which would indicate that an exportation permit may be required from the village building inspector. Assuming the applicant has addressed all outstanding comments from the village planner and the village board, we would recommend that the subject application be considered for site plan approval with the 2 conditions that were just outlined. Number 1, access to the private right-of-way must be kept clear at all times so as to not disrupt access to the adjacent residences. And number 2, that the applicant shall be responsible to repair any damages to the private right-of-way incurred as a result of the subject application. And that's all we got.
Great, thank you. Board members have questions of the attorney or engineer?
No, just
Okay.
that I was on the original ZBA when you first came in, so I knew we had some questions and stuff, and I know they've been remediated and answered to our satisfaction on them.
The right ticket, so we gotta make people know.
Right. I'm gonna make a motion to accept or approve the site plan application.
I'll second that.
Okay, we're gonna deem it read, if that's okay. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Yeah.
Who was the second on that? I'm sorry. David, okay.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item is a resolution to grant an additional 90 days for the filing of the final plat for the proposed subdivision of 41.3 acre parcel on Montauk Highway called Meadowview. I'll make a motion to, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And I did speak with the supervisor, and she told me that they do have all the appraisals in hand for the property, and hopefully they will make a reasonable offer to buy the development that's offered it. And hopefully the Schwenks will find a way to accept the money, and it won't get developed. Okay, we have Normally, comments are held until the end of the meeting, but we have a pretty good audience here. I'll open the floor up to anyone who wants to comment, make some kind of presentation to the board briefly. Does anybody want to come forward? Otherwise, you can sit through the whole meeting. If you want to come up and,
Well, if anyone has been assigned to represent the group, I think many of us are here for the same reason, which is.
if you want to address the board, come on up so they can see you, because the meetings are taped.
Yeah, is he on?
Oh, good.
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
Great. Just state your name and where you live.
Karina Forrest.
Thank you.
I live in North Sea, but I work at Loaves and Fishes.
Hmm.
My landlord, Barbara White, is here.
Yep.
What he was saying was that there are many people here who are Sagaponic residents. We have coalesced. I also have, I did submit to you the last time I was here last month, I think 6 or 7 pages of signatures on a petition. Not all of them are residents, but I would say probably half of them were residents. I have another, I think 5 pages, and I would say also again, half are residents. I kept this at Loaves and Fishes that are against the cell tower going up here at the Village Hall. I reached out to as many people as I could, and a lot of people were not available to come today, but we're going to write in to Rowdy and to Rudy. Sorry, Rowdy. I'm sorry.
Rowdy.
Rowdy.
I've been to that place.
We'll be sending in additional comments to Rowdy so that they can be heard as well. And I am, I think, ultimately representing the group of the collective. And my mother, the owner of Loaves and Fishes, Sibylla von Kempen, I speak for her as well. And we have, I'm not sure if he's on yet, but our lawyer, Jeff Bragman, should be coming on Zoom at some point.
He's not on.
Okay, he should be coming on Zoom at some point. He did say that he would be. And
Yes, no, we'll let him present whenever he shows up.
perfect.
Yep.
Ultimately, I think you know my stance about how I feel and how we feel about the cell tower, but it directly affects me, my child, my family, my employees, and the residents in the immediate area, which there are several who are going to be close enough that it would directly affect them. And we all have concern about it being here. I would love to have better cell service. I talked to many people who said that to me as well, but I think there are other options that we could come. From what I am.
Can I just interrupt you? I'm sorry. Kevin, I believe that we're finished with your, so you can leave.
Great, thank you guys. Take care.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't
You want to listen, but I know if you, thank you. I'm
All
sorry.
right, thank you guys.
Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard anything from you. I did submit at the last meeting that I'm available for any questions, any help, any support that I can be in this process of finding an alternate site. I haven't heard anything in concerns to the White's proposed site, whether or not that is something that is possible. But, you know, I would really prefer to find somewhere else. I have heard some things from other people who came here recently and told me that electrical lines are being run already. And that gives me great concern. So I suppose that's what I have to say at this moment until our lawyer is present. Do you have anything to say?
I'm not gonna argue with you, I mean,
Not arguments, I
Yeah.
just would love information.
let's see.
A lot has happened, at least we left the last meeting with a lot proposed, potential, and a lot of hope. And so I'd love to know where that's going.
Yeah, the white property is not doable, the town owns the covenants, and they specifically covenant against cell towers. It's in the covenant that was signed when they sold the development rights or easements or whatever, however that's done with the town. Other stuff, I mean, whenever I run into one of the commissioners from the fire department, he questioned me when the tower's gonna come up because they find it a safety concern for their own EMTs. This guy's an EMT, they have communications problems when they're out doing emergency services in this area. We get a tremendous amount of correspondence from people who are looking for cell service. Unfortunately, I'm part of government and I'm very suspicious of government, which is kind of why I got into this. I thought a lot of things were mishandled. This particular item, we at a local level are not considered have enough expertise to try to sort through the health concerns on something like this. I've read all different reports on both sides of it, officially, internationally. Everybody says it's just great, safe stuff, which we'll find out about sometime down the road. And on the other side of it, I got family who showed me all the reports that say it's going to create problems with people. And, you know, as part of government, I have to side with that end of it. Alternate rotation, to move it somewhere else is very expensive to try to break a contract. And I've been told on the basis of changing the contract on the basis of radiation just isn't going to happen. That's about it. I mean, you know, a long time ago, I said it's a done deal. We signed on to this thing and it's going to go up.
Good.
What about Old Stoke Pub? What was the scenario with them? Did we get back?
Well,
to
it
them?
was, I think you got, maybe I haven't had a chance to see it, but we asked the cell tower people to give us a checklist of what they,
We saw that.
yeah, right. And this was a better site in terms of their thinking.
So we'll take the second best site. We could move it.
Well, who comes up with the money to move it? And
Well, how much is it to move it? Do we know that? Should we look into it?
I don't think that's what we need to do. I think we just.
I'm excited for the cell tower,
Yeah,
don't get me
I-
wrong.
I
I'm
know
just
that
thinking
was
that
on
these
your
people would
agenda.
like it moved, so maybe we can find a good spot for it to go. And
What-
hopefully it
what
won't
if
cost
the-
too much money,
what
because
if
they're
the big
still
house-
getting the job.
The big house behind the other site has an opposition to it. Do we listen to them?
I guess.
And on what basis do we do that?
We
You know,
don't
what
we don't know it yet.
criterion do we use other than the one that was just?
We can find out having opposition before we go forward.
Yeah, you're opening a can of worms.
So
I'm not willing to go down that road.
I hear you when you say that you are not authorized on the local level to dispute this based on radiation. You and I have had that conversation before, but I do think that you are liable to your constituents. The Sagaponic residents who signed this petition against this, who have shown up here, who will not stand for it being put up, right? And it's their money that pays for this, right? And this land.
Yeah.
And so I understand that you're saying it takes money to move it, but it also takes money to put it here. And if people don't agree to it, if we take this into a court of law, how would that stand?
I think the thing to do is to take it into a court of law and let somebody more expert than us decide if that's what you want to do.
I would. We are prepared to do that.
Yeah.
We are
okay.
prepared to do that. And I guess if you're moving head full force, we need to get a stop work order as soon as possible.
We signed a contract months and months ago and, you know, what can I tell you? I mean,
May I just add that?
Wait, okay, are you done? Why don't you take a seat
As
and
far
let
as,
somebody else speak?
as far as I know, for
Yeah,
the information
okay.
we
No,
have.
I'm not trying to be
Come
rude,
back.
but it's.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I have lawyers and I talk to lawyers and they tell me things that I'm not an expert in. And to try to reinvent the wheel is not really what we're gonna do.
Okay.
And hopefully you'll throw me out of office a year and a half from now and I can go home and live in peace.
I mean, I have faith that all of you could find the right answer here and all of you could do the work to come up with a better solution. I really have faith that you could all do that.
Yeah.
And I do feel that you owe it to the people who don't want it here for very valid reasons to do that work.
I've looked at a lot of cell tower locations. And there's one on top of Southampton Town Hall with the grade school right next to it. There's one on top of Southampton Hospital with all the 300 employees and the patients in the building. And you know, you can go on and see where all these things are. And all of a sudden, all this stuff around us, and we're gonna be the, you know, I say we go Amish, which we eliminate cars. You know, we just block the roads. We have horses and buggies.
I agree.
And, you know, I mean, I think it would be a neat thing to do, but I ain't gonna get it done.
Right, and in 10 years, when we start to see arms growing out of people's backs and women aborting children, having birth defects and all sorts of fun things, are we going to want to have another guinea pig test here like the hospital, like next to the school? I'm telling you, this is not good. Please don't allow this to happen.
Okay, well. Please identify yourself.
Yes, I'm David Schiff. I've been a resident of Milwaukee to contextualize
Great.
where we are. This is basically an extension of our backyard. So not only will we be 47 South Main Street, not only will we be vulnerable to the potential health risks, we can also have the eyesore of the big tower looming over the trees, you know, here. I would say, frankly, I'm very impressed by your candor and your honesty and your purpose in being on this board in the first place. Being skeptical of government and becoming part of it to be closer to it and hopefully.
I saw a lot of stupid things happen locally,
I think
which
that's great.
annoyed me.
I think that's great. I worry for you that you're very candid in acknowledging the lack of expertise that you guys all have on this very issue and plowing forward when one of your fellow trustees is, to me, sensibly suggesting that you dig a little deeper to identify what that cost that you are referring to might be incurred to explore other locations. You referenced several locations that you did look into that were not available. Did you exhaust that process, for instance? And at what cost, if any, other than some time, would there be to investigate a little deeper? I worry for you that if this becomes a legal contentious situation, that your very your acknowledged lack of expertise on all these important issues and moving forward without at least accepting the possibility that there may be other options available to you. I'm not a lawyer, but that might render you guys very vulnerable in the worst possible ways, not only your conscience, but otherwise. So the fact that hospitals and schools have moved forward and put cell towers there does not give comfort to the residents who know enough of the research that's been available for years to suggest that these are dangerous situations when in close proximity to people who live there, right? So, and I'm one among them. So I would urge you to take a pause. I don't think that time is going to cost you money and that the time could be well spent for, you know, a deeper discovery of the potential options and at what cost. And frankly, if it's at X cost, we present it back to the community perhaps to absorb some or all of X cost if it's within reach and reason and worth it to the residents, half of whom on each of these multiple page petitions have identified themselves as part of the problem and willing to be part of the solution. So that's, I would just ask that you consider a process of further discovery I can't imagine at any cost other than time. And let us be better informed based on you being better informed on one, the availability of alternative options, and if any, at what cost, delay, cost of getting out of a contract, whatever those associated costs are, put it back to us to see if we'll share or absorb the responsibility of that.
The question is, what's an acceptable distance from houses?
750 feet.
Yeah.
It's been said, it's in your code. Sorry. It's in your code.
So and if you need from us more detailed information in response to any of those questions, I for one would be happy to work with the engineers here to provide.
Okay.
Because I'm no expert.
Right, okay. Do we have anybody else who would like to speak?
How do you speak?
Oh, wait,
Oh.
I'm sorry. I'm Rachel Sweet, hi, Laura Haywood, 172 Narrow Lane East, 172. I represent a group of our neighbours on Narrow Lane East. I'd just like to second what in the room have already mentioned. I think there are a healthy number of concerns out there from the residents that this felt like it wasn't discussed until quite the last moment before the contract was signed. And we would like the opportunity to review options, appreciate the concerns in the community around lack of cell service, but would like to weigh those up, costs and benefits versus some of the community's concerns. Thank you.
Okay. So you're more than 750 feet from the current location?
We are 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Not by the crow fly, so I think it's more like half a mile, but yeah. Come on, Lee.
I have, sorry, Lee Foster, second company, 690 second name, second comment. I can just pass these out, but I will read as well. In February, Sagaponic Village approved a 100-foot cell tower to be erected on its half-acre parcel right behind Village Hall. It's about to be constructed, an ugly poke in the eye for anyone who has a vision of Sagaponic as beautiful. The cell tower is a symbol of aesthetic depletion, a prominent example of who the hell cares about the look of it or the proximity of people and businesses that are too close. Shame. The cell tower will loom over the building once the cow barn and stable, which before the stakes went into the ground, was essential Sagaponic. The village was established in 2005 as beautiful enough to be itself. However, the contract that was signed in February is so embedded with federal government dictates that an ordinary citizen is without recourse 55 years. For 55 years beginning now, according to Homeland Towers, Sagaponic will also be a place where you will get a cell phone signal. In July, the village board was presented with an option for another location. One member of the board reacted, calling for an executive session. But it seems that midway between a discussion and the regular board meeting scheduled for today, August 21, survey stakes went into the ground, pounded into the ground behind Village Hall. This appears to make moot the discussion, doing so with a mallet, not a gavel, and the fact that the village board refuses to fight a different location. Bill, I have a question to ask you. When you spoke to Fred
I
Thiel,
may not have an answer, but
I understand,
yeah.
but Fred Thiel called you.
I
You
spoke.
did not call him. He is the author of the CPF funding. He knows that easement. He understands what it means to look at an easement, take it back to Southampton Town if indeed it's needed, and do something with that location.
Are you talking about the white?
Absolutely.
I
Redfield
saw
would be
him,
awful.
I physically saw him last Wednesday.
And does the board know that?
He asked me some questions, he never brought up the easements.
Well, what questions did he ask you? I mean, I
don't know,
told
I
Mr.
don't
Fred,
know, really,
alright,
yeah.
I'm just telling you that the impact of this village, what it's doing without what I consider to be proper notification.
Yeah, okay.
Glad Marley's, like to say. Here's- Yeah, everybody makes his call. Hello, back to you, everyone.
I get.
Last time sorry, Marilyn Foster, 737 Main Street, in the adjacent property, one of the adjacent property owners. The last time I was here, as I was discussing, it was pointed out to me that I seemed upset, and I wanted to actually set the record straight, the difference between being upset and being wronged. So, I'm on the zoning board of appeals, which in the zoning board, we treat our code book as Bible. And we actually really take on in serious and lengthy discussions when anybody asks for more than the code allows. Sagaponic Village Code allows for cell phone towers 750 feet from a residence without needing a variance. So that means that the village made the decision, because they don't need to seek a variance, that they would award themselves approximately a 650-foot variance, which the zoning board would never do unless there was some incredible circumstance that made it would not set precedent, wouldn't do violence to our code, and would not invite undesirable changes to the neighborhood. And I would say, intentionally or no, the village board, who I believe swears to uphold the Constitution of the village, the state of New York, and the United States of America, has unintentionally denied the public due process. Due process is awarded to the public by informing them that a substantial change is going to be made to their neighborhood. And the substantial change in this part is the undesirable specter of a pole that will be right behind an appropriately chosen historic building to house the historic village hall. Because this is a historic village where people and families like myself, the Whites, and many other here, I'm sure today, have lived here for generations, as some of our village board members have. And so what I wanted to say to you all today is that I wasn't upset. I was wronged by every one of you here, because you guys made a decision in one meeting that justifiably should have been opened up to the entire population of Sagaponic and had a knockdown, drag out about the value, the public good. This poll is here for the public good. How good does it feel to any of us? I don't know, you've heard from some other people here today, but that debate hasn't been had. And that is a fundamental of this nation, that I can come here, I can speak to you calmly, measuredly, without being told I'm acting emotionally or upset. Because I have really been wronged here today, just like Loaves and Fishes is being wronged. And actually, just like all the people that worked to make this village an entity worth protecting as something called the Village of Sagaponic. We didn't do that to let the lawyers run the fucking place. We didn't. We did it to save ourselves. And this has really backfired. And it's actually just one thing that backfired. And I will guess there will be more. I will guess there will be more. And this is a bad day for my family. This is a bad day for the village.
I think you need
and
to
I want
apologize
to-
to us.
No,
Using your
no.
language quite
Oh, that I
frankly.
swore?
Yes.
No, I'm not apologizing. I'm not apologizing for anything I say
Every
here
time
today.
you've come, you've used.
I swear?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take my swear words back, but that's my passion.
Thank you.
I've got a house next door with
I
very
understand
important
that.
employees living there.
I
And if I
understand.
drop an F-bomb every now and then, it's understandable. It's
The
understandable.
village was notified before that meeting
The village was notified. How?
by email.
Right, in the dead of winter.
Not a lot of people live here in the dead of winter. Business. I said my piece, I'm good.
No, I don't want you to
Yeah.
run off.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to break up that little thing.
Mhm.
See if I can remember the thought I had kicking around. No, I get you, you know, I think that's, I love that statement. You're not upset, you know, you felt you were wrong.
Mhm.
You know, in my own business career, I've slept through things and paid heavy prices for it, okay, because I haven't paid attention. And unfortunately, that's what's happened to you.
Calling me sleeping in February would be different if you actually had known what I was managing in February. But if you want, but again, even what you say, you did something for the public good. So when the village decides to do something for the public good, they should actually open that up to the public to discuss, is this actually in the public good? Does the public actually want to have a cell phone tower? Maybe
Yes,
they do, but
yes.
if too, that could have been openly discussed rather than it's like a very hasty decision made with all the information largely being supplied by Homeland Towers.
Yeah.
This was not a healthy debate that took place way back when you guys discussed it. I believe I learned today, you yourself brought up a cell phone tower at my family's dinner table. Had I been there, I would have known that. I didn't know that, but I was told during that conversation, other family members made clear to you, they had great reservations about it. So again, I was asked how I felt about a porn lab. Something that could blow away in a hurricane, something that did not have a 55-year contract with the federal government, something that more or less, porn lab's kind of safe. They might be ugly, kind of safe. We don't know about this. Ugly, we don't know if it's safe. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And I would love to do nothing more than to turn this whole thing around and have an amazing debate with you about the value of public good in the cell phone. That's what this country does. It would be amazing, a constructive debate about it. The value of a cell phone tower versus the value of a historic and beautiful village.
I don't think you'd have a debate with me. Unfortunately, I find myself as a car. And it's just going like this. And I have a different view of the world, but unfortunately, we had a myriad of people banging on the door about getting a tower up as soon as possible with zero opposition. And so we responded to that. And at some point.
Are they here today?
Yeah, here.
There, okay.
I definitely want one.
Why don't you take a seat and we'll let somebody else talk. But thank you for coming and I appreciate you and I'm upset that you're upset.
I'm not upset.
Yeah, well, okay. Okay. Do we have somebody else? Anybody else who wants to step up and come on up.
Myron Cray, 3 houses down on Saturday. And I do live here in the day. And I was here for the meeting, I think, in which people were discussing gates or portals, something, or dogs, something that had the village fired up. A lot of people put it in. And everyone was wildly enthusiastic about putting up this tower. I don't remember anybody saying anything.
Is there a spot in Sagapine?
But I really agree with those officials. I don't think I would get fed. I couldn't farm without Mary Lee. I'm part of the community that mid of winter we are all sort of there. And I think that listening to what they say, perhaps there should be a meeting in which the village gets allowed to say, and they have to be people who voted. So that's my 10 cents.
Okay, thank you. Somebody on Zoom wants to weigh in? Are you listening or you want to participate? Do we know who that is?
I've got,
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
you can now.
Yeah.
Just identify yourself, please.
I'm sorry?
Can you please identify yourself
Oh,
and
yes, I'm Marcia Michon at 740 Sag Main Street. And I would like to have cell service in Sagaponack. I think it's a safety issue. I don't know the concern scientifically, what the facts are to radiation, if that's the main concern. And if I understand, part of the concern is they would like it to be 750 feet away from a house or a building. Is there a space in Sagaponack that could be 750 feet away? But I definitely think we need a cell tower. And I think a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people do want a cell tower. And I thank you all who are for it and opposing it for taking the time to talk about this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna move on to the agenda.
Wait, someone's.
Ah,
Hello, my name is Ellen Wilson. I was here for the last meeting. And I just wanna, we've discussed, it seems a lot, what you could have done differently. Which I think this definitely could have been handled differently. But I'm also interested in what you still can do differently. And I would really love to see you invest a little bit more in looking for another location. I think that we live in a village, as some have mentioned, where there's a lot of people that don't actually live here. There's not a lot of us left who live here year round. And this tower is getting plopped right on top of one of the last working farms. And right on top of maybe one of very few employee housing. So I think that really matters. And we have to take that seriously because what are we gonna have left? This farm is one of the few reasons that I've remained living in Sagaponack. I feel like a lot of Sagaponack has become mansions of people who don't live here. And it honestly makes me feel deeply disturbed and it makes me want to leave. But the people who are still here and working on this farm that's right behind us is one of the few things that keeps me here personally. And I'm sure that there are others who live here year round that feel the same way. So I would love to see the leadership in this village try a little bit harder to try to do something different, or at least advocate for something different.
okay, don't leave the Sagaponack. And just, I was thinking, the town, I hopefully will buy out the Schwenk's development rights before they develop it. But what if you put it out in that field? Would it be safe for people to work in the field? If you assume the health risk that you're talking about, can people work in that field? And I think if you're in the middle of that field, there are houses 75 feet, 750 feet within that radius. I'm not sure there's any place in Sagaponack where you can get that kind of distance. But Marilee, we're through with this topic. I'm going to move on to the agenda, but I appreciate everybody for coming. Come on, okay. What's the?
The thing that I wanted to say
Yeah.
is that because I'm on the zoning board and that's 750 feet, it might seem like an arbitrary number. Was it taken from scientific study? I would argue it was actually put in there to prevent the village of Sagaponack from actually having cell phone tower.
You got that right.
Yeah.
I was
And
there
so-
when that was written.
Right, and so
Yeah.
because of that, again, I go back to how important that discussion would have been about doing violence to our code. And I find as a member of the zoning board, we take that so seriously when we make decisions. That's why we table that. Wait,
If you
discuss,
read the
and go to the places.
the official
and-
documents where the government has paid for studies, blah, blah, blah. you can stand right next to one of these towers and it's safe.
That's
So anyway,
the
we're
same,
gonna
same
move on.
document that told you no problem DDT, I wanna point
Yep,
out.
absolutely. We're gonna move on.
It's one other person would like to speak.
You have a moment?
Sure, come on up. What? Oh, it isn't? Oh. Or
Ladies and
Senator
gentlemen,
Senator
thank you
Good stuff.
for, my name is Matthew Forrest, Karina's husband, it's my daughter Willow. And, you know, one of the most beautiful things about being in this area is you have a very interesting combination of intelligence and affluence. And with just putting that on the table, it is a distinction to so many other areas of the world where we have an opportunity to actually apply our intelligence as a community and actually do something based upon our own independent investigation of truth. And we have a community here that will actually fiscally and energetically support that intelligence in action, which is really, we can really represent, in a way, be a beacon for seeing what's potential when you combine these very, very special forces towards one objective, towards human health, right? And I just think about the people who work here in this building, and I speak to the women up front, and they have a personal concern. They're not speaking to that concern because, in their own words, they don't really have a say, right? And that just came forth just by bringing my daughter out of the room, right? I speak to that. I mean, I'm just telling a simple conversation I just happen to have, and that being said, obviously, I think about my daughter living here, and very simply, a Geiger counter. We went to a local tower just as a community and held a $200 Geiger counter to test radiation. We ourselves can, in fact, find. I don't need some study from some government agency. I can go get the study, right? And so that's all. I think as humans, we have the capacity to think and then act upon what we're thinking, and based upon a scientific approach, act upon the information we collect. That's what separates us from animals, and that's my take from a place of great love and respect. Thank you for hearing me.
Okay.
God bless.
Yep. If the attorney shows up, we'll put him on, and we're going to move on at this point.
Excuse me.
Bill.
We have.
How are you? I'm Eugene Green. I just want to ask you,
Could you come to the podium, please, and identify yourself? Thanks.
Hi, Eugene Green. I was curious as to.
And I'm sorry, you
On SciCon board. So I was just curious, like listening to this, like where we're leaving this. Yeah. Where does it stand moving forward? I'm just a little confused.
Yeah, we're done with this today, okay? There is no follow-up. I mean, I have no agenda, you know.
No, I understand.
Okay.
But the restaurant that they were talking about, that Old Stove, was that looked into? Is that something that?
There's a house right behind it, a multi-million-dollar house.
Okay.
And if you look, that's a much more, has much more visual impact than what back here.
And
I've seen, right, we looked at something like that years ago.
I don't
remember
think
some.
that matters.
I'm sorry?
I don't think that matters, that it's
The impact doesn't matter?
multi-million-dollar house.
Well, yeah,
Whether
right.
it's a multi-million-dollar
Right.
house
Yeah,
or the employee house,
yeah.
either way.
Well, the Old Stove Pub, I believe, has employee housing right near where this can be too. So it's the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't propose to know anything about this.
Yeah.
I know Wainscott is where the horrible service is. Have you looked?
Yeah.
The cell service.
Can you let's get on with the meeting? I don't want to cut you off, but this is not a question and answer session.
Yeah, I didn't know much about this.
We're done with it for today. Unless the attorney shows up, you're paying an attorney, we'll listen to him. Other than that, we're done with it today. Unfortunately, I run the meeting and you don't. So run for election, please. Get me out of this situation. We have 4 sets of minutes. Did everybody get a chance to read them? I know we have 2 board members who weren't there for those meetings, so I guess you really aren't going to comment on them. But the other
My comments on our meeting, last meeting, my comments are included in that.
Yeah, okay. Are we good? We can vote on that? You had a chance for the old ones, Carrie?
Yes, I read them all.
Yeah, okay. I'll make the motion to approve all 4 of them.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Police report, we're gonna do, next meeting. It's, pretty convoluted. They changed their format and, kind of hard to digest. Gibson Beach, I think my vision is that the town, we're the end of the earth for the town. The town has Hampton Bays and Spionk and all that stuff, population of the west. Saginaw Beach, which the town owns entirely, it's their baby. I had a friend who actually died before the picnic tables returned. Was after them for about Charlie Markler, you know Charlie. He harassed them because the picnic tables fell apart and they didn't replace them for like 15 years.
Who did Peter write?
The parks. They try to get a picnic, they
I
have
got it.
beautiful decks with no tables because they fell apart and they wouldn't replace them. Anyway, that beefing about the town. Gibson Lane, you know, looks like a mess, the garbage all over the place. It's not well maintained and
What are you proposing, though? Please tell the audience what you're proposing.
well, we let the town know that we're gonna take care of Gibson Lane.
How did you go about discussing that with people?
This is not a topic open to discussion right now, okay? This is not a debate session. If you want to hang to the end of the meeting, we'll come back to it, okay? Anyway,
It was part of the last meeting, you have to read the minutes. Read the minutes, like.
I was here for last meeting.
Yeah, we discussed
No, you would put it on the table.
it. Yeah, but it's not, it's.
Put it on the table, so you.
okay, enough, we're not debating. Are you enjoying yourself, Bill? I'm not. I'm not. I think we get somebody down there once a week in the summer to weed whack the place. It's got weeds growing up all over the place. Blow off the pavement, the sand's gonna cover up the handicap parking thing.
Have we approached the town or the partners against the Parks Department? Have we approached them to clean it up the way?
Well, I always ask them to do things and they're sometimes more receptive than other times. But at last month's meeting, you as a board approved the to let the town know under our IMA that you have to let them know for next season. So in order to take the beach back, meaning not back because you never had it, as Carrie pointed out, but to have the beach become a village beach that we would maintain, we had to know the town by August 1st. So we notified the
It
town.
gives us an option. Gives us an option right now.
Bill was like, we're not here last month.
I apologize, I missed the meeting.
Oh, yeah,
That's-
okay.
So it just gives us an option to discuss this forever, that's all. it is.
The option to discuss it, is that an option that the town is willing to listen to, or?
It's not a discussion with the town, it's either yes or no.
I apologize for not being here at the meeting, and I apologize for not reading the minutes regarding this, but I'm just curious, how much did we go into the cost effectiveness of
Oh, we did.
us
We
taking it?
did. We just basically.
Because you're talking
It's not
simple
a huge
weed
amount.
whacking that I would think the town would be willing to do. But
I
I'm
think
concerned
we should-
more about stickers, who's gonna monitor
Yeah.
the stickers, who's
Well,
gonna,
the police, the same way they do now with the town, with the town stickers, the police still monitor it, so.
is it something that you feel in your capacity that we can do this without hiring another person to?
Yes, I mean, it's just a matter of issuing stickers, so.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
How much time, who's going to monitor the situation? The police?
the situation, you mean who's parking there and who's
Yeah.
not parking, yeah, that's
How
the
much
purpose.
time will that take away from the normal police work?
They should be doing that right now. That's their job to do that
We
right
should be
now.
checking if they have Southampton stickers.
Right, so you're either looking for a Southampton sticker or you're looking for a village sticker. So there's wouldn't be any change
Yeah.
in that.
I feel we may need a public hearing or whatever it is on this, just to let everyone know what we're thinking about doing, because it's a major decision.
We're not required to do a public hearing on something that simple.
It's not simple.
Well,
Please,
maybe we
please.
need to know how people feel about it, though.
Have you been there frequently? Because it's heavily used by our local residents.
Yes, I know.
And a
I
lot-
grew up there.
Yeah, a lot of the problems are from people who don't have an investment in my community.
Well, I think we fixed that last time we voted on the dogs.
I see a tremendous improvement aesthetically with that fence there and the hedge cut back. It looks very much more welcoming. And during the week, there's more and more people using it, but they're very orderly down there when they park, for the most part. And I'm very pleased that no one has yet taken the bench and thrown it in the fire. So I think the people that are using it are respecting it. I was down there at 6 o'clock this morning and there was garbage all over. So I went to the Sag Main, twice as bad. I went back down there at noon, everything's cleaned up. The Sag Main bench is cleaned up and Gibson's cleaned up. So I'm just wondering if are we opening up a can of worms to have to hire somebody to come clean that up? And should we look into that, or did we look into it?
No, I don't think we've done anything about looking into it, but the issue is that we've gotten numerous letters from local residents saying they've been unable to park there, and they noticed that they were not local residents parking there. For people
Right,
from
that's
Sag Harbor and everything else. I was there the other day, there were 70 cars there, and 70 cars. And I suspect that a lot of the local residents couldn't park there, they're just, the parking is done.
I'm sure.
So we got some letters, we got some requests. I personally have been approached by local residents saying it's an issue. So yes, I think we do need to look into what the cost is, what the cost would be to do it. I don't think it would be huge, but that's the discussion we need to have.
Yeah.
So the thing from last week, just to be clear, is if we did give them the notice to the town of Southampton, we wouldn't be able to do anything for another year.
Okay, that's the.
So just to be clear, we just got a free option here to decide whether we want to proceed or not.
Okay, sorry.
From the trustees stand.
I'm glad to hear that it's not a done deal.
No, nothing's been, there's a lot to talk about. Capability of the village to service it, to do the stickers, to monitor it, the cost associated with it. Town of Southampton may be against it, we don't know. We have to wait to see how it affects their budget, I guess. One of the reasons why we had it.
How would the town prevent this if we decided?
So the next step from them procedurally is that we have to give them a 1-year notice as of August 1st. That's why we had a discussion in July.
That's what
Yeah, so we gave them the notice to say, hey, look, we're exploring amending, repealing that one section of the IMN. The next thing is they have a discussion from the supervisor or whoever his designee would be with the mayor and Rhodey to say, how do you want to do this? And by that time, we should formulate what our plan is going to be, what it's going to look like. So it'll be a continuing discussion with the town, but it'll give them 12 months to figure out what that looks like.
Thank you. Again, I apologize. Came last week.
Oh, no.
Appreciate being brought up to date.
And so we have time, so, you know, it's not like we're rushing to do anything.
Right, I'm glad you.
But I think we should put a time limit that we have. That's well in before the 1-year time that we actually have to document. So,
Oh, yeah, we have to.
I want to make sure that we have plenty of time, and if people oppose it or don't oppose it, if public hearing is necessary, which I don't think, but if people think that it is necessary and Lee has an issue with it, then we should hear that.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think the thought process of us prohibiting other people from using outside people, just like any other village.
But I want to make it clear to everyone that nothing has been put into stone for us. We now have a year to come up with that, but I do think that we should have, whether it be 6 months or 9 months or 3 months or whatever we come up with, we should have, that should be our time frame, so that there's plenty of time that people actually understand that in the next 6 months, that in the next 6 months, this is what's gonna happen.
And I am getting those costs together, I just don't have that yet.
Yeah, my push is that I think the town has looked at us as a backwater, even though we have a substantial tax base. Very few votes come out of here for the town. And politicians I talk to are very conscious of where votes come from and where they pay their attention. And just from my friend who was after the Parks Department through several different commissioners, they seem to be not very receptive to doing things in Sagaponic.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
In the past, we had issues with the highway department.
Right.
But I think we're getting a much better fit from the highway department.
Absolutely.
I think Mr. McCartney is much more on top of things.
Agreed on that.
And this could have collateral issues with East Hampton, to be honest, because Town Line Road is an issue for people, right? Yeah, the issue is that they're policing, they're giving tickets out there to residents of Sagaponic.
Right.
And obviously there's no parking available on our side of the road. So it's an issue, and Town Line Road's a whole other issue, but if you, in theory, if you did have a resident sticker of Sagaponic, East Hampton might be more amenable to letting the residents of Sagaponic use the Town Line Road.
And Peters Pond stands alone.
That's their.
Did you happen to go down and check how many cars were down there?
Believe it or not, Peters Pond had about 20 cars, where Gibson had 7.
What day was that, David?
Huh?
What day was that?
I have it on my video, and I think I sent it to everybody, maybe I didn't get it.
That's just something you can get down the road.
That's exactly right, that's why, you certainly didn't see any high-end cars going down Peters Pond. So, because that's obviously full of potholes whenever it's like this. Right. But they also don't police down that road, Southampton, so.
They're supposed to.
I don't think they go down there, I've never seen them down.
I mean, you're supposed to have a sticker for Peters Pond.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So they should be on their route.
So road is gonna work on some cost numbers.
Okay,
if
great.
we,
Thank
have garbage picked up, have the place neatened up.
Well, God willing, I'll be at all the rest of the meetings.
Do what?
God willing, I'll be at the rest of the meetings.
Oh, okay. Something else, I just, it's not on the agenda, but I wanted to bring up, plantings on the village right of way. If you look at 219 Sag Main Street, they planted ornamental grasses right out to the edge of the pavement almost, and they have their signs out there. Which is,
219 segment.
yeah, it was like a Farrell Development House. There were flag lot in the back. It's totally out of character for the historic corridor. And I brought it up because I mentioned it to the building inspector, and he said that in the past, with a previous attorney, he was, they said, oh, well, if it's just herbaceous kind of stuff, just leave it. But if you drive down Sag Main Street, that one property stands out. Because, I mean, if we let everybody do that, the verge is going to disappear.
Yeah.
And if you notice, there are people who actually walk and run on the shoulder. Yeah, anyway, I just wanted to bring it up. I get a sense of the board that, I mean, my feeling is they should just tell them not to plant out to the edge of the street. Because it changes the nature of the
Well,
place.
plus you've got to see traffic and whatnot, and people riding bicycles,
Yeah. Yeah,
driveways.
anyway, take a look at it and we can follow up on that.
Do you want me to instruct the building inspector to have them remove it?
Well,
We do it all the time. It's nothing we don't do, happen in the
yeah, I
past.
mentioned it to him and he seemed kind of hesitant, so that's why I
fine.
brought it
We'll
up to
just
the
mention
board.
it again,
Yeah.
Bill.
So
Yeah.
we'll look at it,
Yes, if you want it,
and we'll look
Yeah,
at it
take
and
a
then
look
we'll
at it
let
and
you know.
Let it run another month. You're gonna have to wait till the end of the meeting. We already,
Just wanna tell you, my lawyer's not gonna be able to.
oh,
So,
okay, all right,
just wanted
thank
to
you.
say Thank you, but,
Yep.
when can I come and speak with you again? Because I don't feel that we can wait for this meeting. So can I set up a meeting with you?
Letters, I'm a volunteer. I spend a lot of time on this stuff, dealing with things you never see.
I believe
And
that.
meetings are something which I shy away from, especially when I've heard you, I met with you out there in the office one day. And another time that you've been to the board. If you want to write a note or something, please do. Email, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, I appreciate you talking to us and I can't make everybody happy. I would figure out a way to do it.
I totally get that. I guess just
Yeah.
for me and for my peace of mind and understanding, we're not gonna get any information again until the next meeting, next month, which construction.
It's not an agenda item for the village in terms of the cogs of what happens. It happened a long time ago, and I know people have become more aware, and people who are aware and nervous about things. As I become more aware of it, legally, we did it. It's done, and it's going to just steamroll across us.
And
Who did it?
Who said that?
I did. Who did?
There are contracts. We went through a whole process to come up with a contract, negotiations.
But it never went to a vote. Yes. It did.
Yeah, it did.
did.
Sure, yeah,
Sorry, I mean,
a long time ago. It was water over the dam. Happened back then. All the impetus was, all the correspondence we get is when, we get it right now. I run into people, I say, when's the cell tower gonna work? Unfortunately, the people against the cell tower just got organized more recently.
But it never went to a proper vote.
Oh, there were actually two votes. We had one in February, we had one in March. We had one where we approved the lease. The board of trustees, correct.
He's asking about public input. Community.
Oh, no, under village law, there's no provision for a community vote on such a thing. Yeah.
Should.
Okay.
And just one. So me as the worker there, my mother as the owner, my landlord who lives in Sagaponic, has a Sagaponic parcel, and the residents are we privy to the construction schedule in any way? To know
You
when.
can check in with the
Yeah,
clerk
I
from
don't
time
have
to
a written
time.
construction schedule right at the moment.
Oh my God.
If I get it, absolutely,
So I can touch base with you about that.
absolutely. This is what they're doing right now. They'll finish that tomorrow. And the next step is to dig out the area for the installation of the cement for the pad. I don't know. I just said that to you. I don't have that schedule yet, but that would be the next step. I can only confirm that tomorrow they'll finish putting in the electric line. That's all I know right at the moment. It may be next week, but I don't know. I don't have that yet. Okay?
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
We're gonna jump right ahead to Jim Peterman. He
Patiently
started from the
waiting.
very beginning. And his hair is gray already. And if we hold him any longer, it's gonna fall out probably. We had complaints about drainage in Sag Pond Court. And the town went down and investigated and said that the drainage structures were collapsing. And so we sent our own able engineer down to see if the town was right, and he said exactly the same thing.
Which one is Sag Pond Court?
It's on the way to the beach on Main Street.
On the right hand side.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
Originally
Yeah.
going south.
Yeah, with the big platform.
Yeah, it's been there, you know, quite a while. Anyway, Jim, you wanna bring us through what you saw?
Yeah, well, a couple of, congratulations to all the new board members. Jim Peterman, I'm from LKMA. I do the engineering on the highway end for the village. I work very closely with the town of Southampton staff. They have me on speed dial, so they actually notified me about the sinkhole in front of a basin. It's midway up Sag Pond Court. After a rain event, they safeguarded it with a barrel. Actually met Mayor Tillotson out there Friday to look at it. It appears to be the front wall of the catch basin is compromised, and we have settlement there in a sinkhole. The pipe that was used to connect these two basins that are at the low point are connected to a series of leaching basins in the verge grass area behind the Belgian block curb. I suspect that the two catch basins are block. That's why they went. That's why they had some compromise structurally. But the pipe they used was a CMP pipe, a corrugated metal pipe, but it wasn't coated. It was a steel pipe, not aluminum, severely rusted. So my recommendation was to replace both basins and the pipe across the road. Just some history on the Sag Pond Court itself. The Sag Pond Court condition of the pavement was pretty bad shape. Last spring, a year and a half ago, PSE&G went in there and put all new electric underground and chopped up the road. They patched it well, but the road was really on the hit list to do a mill and pave there anyway. So we combined in a work order using a Suffolk County requirements contract to replace the two drainage structures, replace the pipe across the road, and the pipes leaving the back of the basins going into the leaching basins that are behind the curb, along with milling the roadway and paving it with 2 inches of overlay asphalt. And the cost was like $107,000.
May I ask?
No. Anyway, we need a paving project, right? Having looked at the road, I mean, there's some curbing that's knocked out, various settling, low spots, dips, I guess, where originally when the road was first paved, it wasn't completely settled. You had a name for them. What were they, bird baths or something? Or what were those dips?
Well, when they first constructed the road, it might not have been fully compacted in certain areas. There might have been some loam or clay material underneath. And over the years, with different, water events, it could have settled out. There was a lot of utility work in the area also, but the road did have these problems before PSE&G did go in there. And Bill mentioned there's some Belgian block curb that I had included in the estimate to get replaced. This is probably knocked out by plows or landscaping trucks driving over it. And I'll have to replace the curbing right adjacent to the two catch basins. Also with Belgian, it's a similar curb, Belgian block curb with a concrete base.
I just want to thank you, Jim and Bill. I just happen to be here to get more informed, but I live on 11 Sag Pond Court, and we're on the low spot. We may have been one of the people. My friend was a Hall of Fame basketball player across the street. So, and we're the two houses that get flooded, and just coincidentally, I'm sorry for chiming in.
Yeah.
Just coincidentally, we had a sinkhole in our backyard at the same time, which had never happened before. And I just had that repaired by, so it's crazy. You can't get out of the driveway. And it's the two houses, the second and on both sides. Oh,
Let's continue. We don't want to be here all night. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Any sense of the board? I mean, I looked at the road last year and I thought, wow, this is kind of rough. And I think we start ripping up the stuff to do the drainage. I think we just go and complete the job. Otherwise, we'll have a big patch in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Has anybody had a chance to look at it?
I haven't looked at it, but,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the pond being up and down like it is all the time.
I don't know. I don't think I think it's up enough so that that's not affecting it.
You don't think that?
No. it
Do
might
you
affect
think,
the
Jim, do
drainage.
you think the fact that the pond goes up and down and up and down and
Well, when this subdivision was put in, is actually the series of leaching basins that are behind the curb on the south side of Sag Pond Court actually has a pipe going out to the corner of Sagaponack, Maine to a basin. And then it heads southerly to an additional catch basin about 325 feet south, and then to a pipe again to another basin, an additional 325 feet. So a total of 650 feet south of Sag Pond Court, which is actually a lower area. It is supposed to bubble in through the pipe network and bubble out the top of that casting in a low point down southerly on Sagaponack Main Street. Now, all that pipe, I suspect, is also probably the CMP metal pipe that's not coated, that's rusting also. However, the pipe that runs from the low point on Sag Pond Main Street to, the Sag Pond Court to Sag Pond Main Street actually is in the grass area. So my intent was to, when we expose this drainage out there, is to take a look at that pipe that heads easterly out of the low point and see what condition it's in. But it's not going to affect the roadway itself, because if I have to replace that pipe, it's actually in the grass area.
I think we would just go ahead and repave it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve expending that money.
And that comes out of the capital highway fund.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. There we go, Jim.
Okay, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hang in there, Bill. Hang in there. Have a good night.
Bye, Jim.
Bye, thanks.
I do see, John, I don't think he was here for the wildlife management.
Oh, okay. We'll back up to that.
You want to adjourn them for a month?
No, or
Yeah.
is not on Zoom in person.
Oh,
But we could
okay.
just wave goodbye. No. I don't know why I would.
Let me,
Let me go check.
Can we just back up to the police report? We didn't have, I noticed there were a couple larcenies on Gibson Lane.
I haven't even looked at it.
Yeah, this is much more detailed than the last time.
And there was a break-in off Daniels.
There was, okay. So.
I mean, I know that not from the report.
They detail larceny over to Gibson Lanes. It's kind of. I
There were people around soliciting door to door. Want to do like pest control.
Pest control.
Yeah.
I think it's some kind of spam.
One of those little scooters.
I hired
Yeah.
him.
You hired him?
I did. Ecosystem.
Anything missing?
No.
He came to my house yesterday. My dog didn't like it.
Good.
Makes a short conversation.
All right.
You want to make a report on the wildlife management?
All right.
Thank you for
Keep
coming
it as
by.
painless as possible. Sounds like you guys had a long day today. Okay. So we're going to go right through it, then answer any questions and whatever we'll need to. Has anyone not met you before? I mean, I've seen
Two of them.
Okay.
Two new board members. This is David McMillan.
Oh, yeah?
This is Mark Landis. This is John Rochetta. He is our wildlife manager.
Because he does fantastic detail. If you look at the report, I mean, anybody doing any kind of deer management is totally scrutinized and tracked at all points. So anyway, he's the man. Please go ahead.
Thank you.
You don't look like it.
I don't look like it. And excuse the pre-winter beard growth. It takes me longer than most people, so I start in August instead of September. I don't look like that one. Okay. Basically what I do, again, I've been doing this for a number of years, and 6 years itself here in Sagaponack. And watching what happens and watching how the deer move is my job. I think I used this year about 180 hunters. I have 370. And if they don't hunt for 2 years, they kind of get moved to the archive and I bring in more. Even after today, I'll be going to actually Nassau County to meet with Suffolk Archers, who is a high-level archery group, and I'll be speaking to about 100 people. And of that 100, I might pull 15 or 20 that I think are capable of handling archery hunting here in Sagaponic. It's a whole nother level of people that we bring in. We basically do modified background checks on them, make sure we have all their driver's license, pictures of their cars, pictures of their arrows. If they lose an arrow, I know it. So any issues you ever have, call me. One of the biggest things here is a lot of deer get hit by cars, deer die naturally, they get stuck in fences, things like that. Don't call an outside company to come do it. They'll charge you between $500 and $1,000 to remove that deer. I will remove that deer for free 365 days a year. If you call me, nobody calls me, even if it's 11 o'clock at night, often there's a deer that's injured and it's not gonna live. I can come get rid of it long before, no disrespect to an animal rights group, they do the right thing, but by the time they get there or get somebody, I will have had the deer, humanely euthanized and taken out of here. And I don't use chemicals so that if it does get disposed of and a fox does eat it, the fox doesn't die. That's pretty important to me and a lot of people in Sagaponic.
Rudy, can you send us this information to us? Separately? Do we have it anywhere that we can do? That'd be great.
So I'm gonna run through the report real quick. I'll do it as quickly as possible. How I measure it, how I measure success. Can't see everything here, but I do something called sightings per hour. And every hour we sit here, I record. So there might be 25 or 30 hunters at a given time in Sagaponic. Every hour they record, they report back to me, they let me know how many deer they saw, how many hours they hunted. When you divide them out, you get a sightings per hour. You look at that over time, over years, and that's how you measure your herd. You can't say, oh, I counted 15 here, I counted 20 there. It's all the same deer. They shift all over Sagaponic depending on where the food is, where the hunting pressure is, and what time of year it is. It's all the same deer. And literally I have deer that a buck is easy to identify, that I'll see up north of the vineyard, and then we'll see them down on the ocean a month later. So the same deer you deal with are your deer. Because you have hunting in Sagaponic, because we manage it, we tend to displace a lot of deer. If you go into Bridgehampton, you'll see a lot more deer, bigger herds north of the highway here. If you go into Wainscott, I feel bad.
They don't have hunting in Wainscott?
They have hunting, but it's individual hunters and it's not managed. So I know how many hunters are out here. We try to, go to each spot every 3 to 5 days so that the deer smell human scent. Displacing deer is as important as harvesting an actual deer. If I could push every deer out of Sagaponic and you guys had no deer here except a couple of pretty lawn ornaments of deer that come and go, everyone would be happy. But destroying $10,000 in trees in a night in the middle of September when all the bucks shed their velvet off their antlers, that could happen in one night. So I try to prevent that from happening, and we continue on from there.
Do you coordinate with Wainscott at all?
Do I coordinate?
Do you coordinate with Wainscott at all?
Wainscott is not a homeowners association, and it's not a village. So they, individuals have asked me, and I also manage Georgia. So between managing Georgia and Sagaponic, we basically put the deer into Wainscott.
Yeah,
And that's that.
and that's where they are.
That's where they are. You go see 50, 60 deer
Right now.
down in the water.
They're on waters for property.
Yeah.
Those are your deer. So, that's kind of what we do. That's what you guys pay me to do. Other measures of success is less lines, reduction in browse line. When you see all the trees and everything from 6 feet down is gone, that's the deer doing it. Less car accidents and continued growth of the program. And move through this quickly. Building a deer management plan, that's all done. We've done it. You guys are in good shape. We have plenty of hunters. We have plenty of spots. Rhodey and I will get together next week and send out letters to almost everybody in Sagaponic, except people we know that don't want hunting. And it's just as important to know if someone doesn't want hunting, we steer clear of their property. Resident satisfaction is the #1 thing we focus on here. And if someone doesn't want hunting, whether we hunt on their property or not is not going to change the number of deer that we take. When it expands 20, this year we took a lot of deer, but 20 deer is not a lot. So we might take 20 less next year. They might have just been pushed out of Sagaponic because of the food source. So an individual property doesn't matter, but having 80 properties available, so if I have 30 hunters for the day, everyone has a place to hunt. They call into me or they text into me, my staff schedules where they go, we know exactly where they are, how long they're there for, and when they leave, we know they're gone. So there's never anybody in Sagaponic hunting without us knowing that they're there, unless they're not part of the program, which that does happen on occasion. Any questions on that? Drivers, people in trucks, cops know what our license plate numbers are. If anything happens, I can give you everyone that's on every property within about 5 minutes. It's all on my computers, easy to deal with. We have extended hunting permits here. Because we are a village, I'm allowed to get permits that cover 365 days. We only hunt till April 30th. And we do that, for an example, we were talking about doing some nuisance hunting down at the end of Sag Main. There are people walking on the block at 6 o'clock in the morning. And because of that, we have to be careful. It's not dangerous, it's just people are uncomfortable seeing hunters, so we try to be careful and not interact with the public, unless they ask us to. And if anyone here asks us to come to their house, usually within a day or so, we're at the house, we inspect the property, we look it over, and either we set a hunter up or we say it's not, conducive to hunt.
April what was that?
April 30th is usually when we stop. We're also,
When does the season
season starts October 1st. So depending on the popularity and how many people are in the area, we may stay in the wooded areas, we may stay in the farm fields. And as people leave to go to the city and it quiets down, we tend to get into more of the residential areas, depending on the season, where people are. Again, it's not dangerous. We're using archery equipment. I don't think anyone's ever been hurt in New York ever with a bow.
What's your goal? How many deer do you want?
I'd like to be 100 to 125 is the goal, and I hunt until that happens. But it fluctuates about 25 deer, and overall, we probably take 25% more than what I tell you. There's a mortality rate with hunting. It's usually less than 10%, but sometimes you'll hunt and you don't find the deer. The deer is mortally wounded. It ends up in the swamp. Sometimes they get further away from than you can retrieve it. That does happen. It's very rare we have dogs. So if we do hit a deer and we can't find it, I go get it with a dog. They're fluffy little dogs. You never even know that we're looking for a deer, but we go get them and make sure there aren't deer in people's backyards.
Do you have restrictions on the type of deer you hunt, the age, or if the deer is pregnant, or?
I follow all New York State regulations. And New York State regulations give me my rules of what I have to do in New York State. So I don't make that up, that's all New York State regulations. You can find on the DEC website.
So how would you characterize the population right now as compared to previously?
I would call it stable. If you look, I'll skip real quick to one of the graphs. I'll kind of give you an understanding of what's happening. Right before the hunt, sorry, right here. When you see 2 deer per hour.
Is this a joke?
Yep, you can kind of see it over the year, it's stabilized. You're still looking at 0.5 deer per hour. It should be 0.25. So we're still double the amount that I'd like it to be. And a deer will live up to 15 years. So if we didn't take any deer over these past 6 or 7 years, you could have as much as 1,000 more deer here. And the idea is to reduce the female population. Here they have 2 to 3 fawns per deer. And if you can do that in early season, again, before they're pregnant and things like that, it's more humane. People feel more comfortable with it. We don't waste any of the meat. Every single deer in Sagaponic is used for human consumption, actually, and dog consumption. We have a lot of people that have dogs that have allergy problems and things like that, and they call me asking me for deer meat because they can't eat beef. And I'm happy to supply any of the local shelters and things like that with venison. We bring it here too, so if anybody likes them, the corn-fed deer of Sagaponic are probably the best you're gonna get. Okay.
Sweet.
So extended hunting seasons, we can hunt 365 days a year. We choose not to for the deer and for the human population. If you have a problem or you have a deer that's mortally wounded and I need to come dispatch that deer, because of this permit, we don't need to have a police officer come with a gun. I can come with a bow. And it's quiet, it's safe, and you have me again on call 365 days a year. We also started turkey hunting. The number of turkeys in Sagaponack has skyrocketed. And they've allowed a season on Long Island. Again, we use New York State DEC regulations. And, you know, we took quite a few turkeys out of Sagaponack this year.
What's that say?
Don't we have a goal in terms of Sagaponack having some deer and some turkeys left, and isn't there something there?
Sure, I can answer that question. We will never stop the deer population from being a visible deer to everyone. So the deer outbreed all of our hunting. They're known to do that. They're prolific. You can't, a deer, a mouse, and a rabbit are made for reproduction, and they produce more than we could ever hunt. And I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've never depleted the deer population ever.
I know, but should we as a town have something to hunt?
We do have limits. We only hunt till the end of April. So.
What in terms of number?
You have to know the number of the deer first, and we have a number in here of 200-300. I take about 125. So at most, we're taking 50, maybe 60%. So to answer the question, there'll always be an additional 40%. That 40% is probably 60 or 70% female, and every one of them will have twins. So if you have a remaining 100 deer, 60 of them are female, they will have another 60 fawns added onto that. And in 3 years, you'll have the same population you had before I was here. That's how fast the deer population rebounds.
Oh, I understand. I'm just wondering if we as a community should have some sort of limit.
If you talk to the farmers, they would want 0
Yeah.
deer. They eat 30% of the crops every year.
We got enough.
I know.
We'll never get below 50% of what's here. And then they repeat and they bring it back up to 80. And then we're at this constant trying to reduce the population. So I've never done that, and that's not the goal. The goal is not to eliminate the deer. The goal is to be able to, again, stop Lyme's disease, stop the natural vegetation and farmers and car accidents and a lot of these different things.
Farmers is carried by all counties.
It is, absolutely.
Deer do that.
But if you look inside a deer fenced area, you don't get Lone Star nicks, which are out right now. I won't walk through the high grass. I won't walk with my sneakers. I went to the Peconic Land Trust benefit last 3 weeks ago, and my wife was like, "What are all these little bites all over me?" I go, "Those are Lone Star nymph tick bites that we got at the Peconic Land Trust in." So you will get that anywhere that is not fenced. A fenced area, you don't get the nymphs. So the mice can get in the fence, birds do, but the deer don't. And you'll see the difference in the amount of ticks inside and outside that fence. So I've done some studies on it, but we do what we can.
Can I just ask the question?
Sure.
Compensated deer, since you compensated to deer to hunt.
Okay, I'm not compensated for the turkeys. I am on basic retainer, so it's a monthly payment. And from there, I take deer and we average it out to $228 a year. And $228 a year.
For the meat.
No, is what it costs Sagaponack for me to remove a deer.
No, I'm saying
No,
what
she
you
was if you're selling.
What's the
Oh,
number?
no.
What do you get paid for?
Oh, I don't pay any of that. You're not allowed to sell wild game. So everything that we harvest here is given away. There's zero compensation for the meat that I give away. I have a walk-in box that is probably quarter size of this room. That's a cooler. So all the deer that we harvest here are stored in my walk-in box. Sagaponack is not charged for that. You're not charged for the butchering. You're not charged for delivering of the meat, and we're not charging all the soup kitchens that we feed with this meat. So we fed 75 people for dinner last Christmas. We call it a winter stew. They know it's venison, and they're happy to eat it. So a lot of people get your venison all the way out to Wonton. So soup kitchen chefs will call me and say, "Hey, could I get 25 pounds or 50 pounds of venison?" And I've handled it myself. I've had professional people butcher it, so I know it's completely safe. It's frozen. I give them a frozen certain amount of meat. And again, I keep it all anonymous. I don't say it's from Sagaponack. Nobody really, if they want to know, maybe no, but nobody asks. They just know that it's safe and they use it year over year for individuals that can't afford beef. And there's also a diabetics association that can't eat fat from beef that comes to me and probably takes about 60 to 70 deer a year for that.
So I just have one quick question. If you see this turkey population as an issue that we need to address, or what's like, because they are exploding, I agree with
The turkey population, I mean, they were brought here probably 40 years ago to control the ticks, and they actually brought the Lone Star nymph with them. So it's kind of interesting. The turkeys are at a point now where the DEC, it's not me, decides Long Island has a hunting season that's May 1st to May 31st. And there's a 2-week season in the fall. So I don't make those rules, I just follow what the state has seen. And if you're asking me, are there a lot of turkeys in Sagaponic?
And would you say the season was for them?
May 1st to the 31st, and then it's usually 2 weeks around Thanksgiving during the fall.
But you do hunt the turkey in
Sure.
Sagaponic.
We hunt the turkey in Sagaponic, and your price is not increased for that, the hunters like to take turkey. So it's free. So if you ever wanna try wild turkey, it's a difference between grape juice and a really good red wine. And that's the difference in how good wild turkey is.
Which stuff?
It's the 86 shotgun. Again, I know where all the deer are moving to Sagaponic. I've been here long enough. I know what's happening. I know what property to be on within a 2-week period over the winter. I've watched them move from Bridge Lane. I watched them this month. They'll be up in the nursery, up in the vineyard. They'll smell the grapes, and we hunt the properties all around the vineyard, so we're able to take deer out of there. Once they leave there, they move to the crops. Once the crops are removed, they move to people's yards. So I follow them, as we all know. My numbers now, I'm showing about 2,000 deer that we've removed through prevention of foreign births in 6 years. So if those 2,000 deer didn't die of natural causes, which are cars and other things, 6 years, all those deer could still be alive. That's what we try to do, and it seems like it's working. Does anybody see that there's less deer? I mean, you guys are over on fields and you should be seeing less deer. You shouldn't be seeing 50 deer standing together anymore. You should see 10 or 15. That's normal. That's kind of what I need to hear. I don't get a lot of feedback from the residents here because you don't see a lot of the residents. But whatever you guys hear as a board, let me know. And that'll help me understand what I should be doing in my report and how I
They're definitely taking a different migration path because a lot of the residents have AIDS states, so they'll find the path of least resistance.
They'll find path of least resistance. I also deal with North Haven. There's a lot of areas where there's 2 fences that are 30 feet wide, and they use that as a corridor. Deer will find it. They'll walk along the fence until they find a hole. That's what they do. Okay, the numbers I estimated was 200 to 275 deer in Sagaponic in October, and then we start our hunt. Those numbers have come down for probably 400. Keeping it, I would say, under that 200 mark would be a goal if you ask me a number. It's hard to say. Even the state doesn't do a good job of counting deer. They have to use infrared from helicopters and things like that. But then they begin counting dogs, counting deer twice, and things like that. So it would be more of a waste of money to try to count the total number as opposed to focus on reducing the number. And that's what we do. There you have the over time. Here's the hunt results that we've had and the locations by street of where we hunt. If you look at the number of hours we hunted, we had 1,620 hours this year. That's a large number of hours. You don't pay per hour for the hunter. You have a set number that you pay. So the more hunters I bring in, the more hours I hunt, it's all the same, and your price hasn't changed since I started. Everything's working out for me. Hopefully it's working out for you. Goals and recommendations. Getting new properties where the deer learn to stay is what prevents a population from exploding. And if we can, as Brody and I, continue to send these letters out, and people learn about the program even now, they don't know that we're here. So sometimes it's a good idea to stay quiet and fly under the radar. Sometimes it's a good idea to, explain to everybody what we do. And I leave that up to Brody and you guys knowing the residents. We're completely transparent. Obviously, I'm standing here and we have a report that goes online. But some people want to be more involved. Some people want to be less. It is personal. It is factual, and it is emotional. And I try to skate all those lines and try to do the right thing for everybody inside. Needing more parcels, getting up to 250. The hunter registrations is pretty important. Flip forward a couple of them. See if you get out of here quickly. This is what I do. Just so every hunter that's here, I have their driver's license, I have their hunter's license. I have pictures of their vehicle. I have an ID card. So if you bump into a hunter in Sagaponic, they have all of this. They have a hunter ID card signed by Rody that they're supposed to be here. The police officers know this. So this prevents a hunter from walking onto a property that's not supposed to be. They also have programs on their phones that are required them to have, they know property lines, they know exactly where they are. So I give them the location to park the truck, the location they're supposed to be hunting, and the property line they're supposed to stay within. So they don't accidentally walk on somebody else's property. This is extremely important for everyone here to understand and for the village to understand, to have a managed program, that's what needs to be done. I also have pictures of their arrows, and not only pictures change the colors, the structure of their arrow. It's kind of like your skis, how long they are, the size, how stiff they are. If I find an arrow, I can look through my database and I know exactly whose arrow it is. So if I find an arrow on a property or someone finds an arrow where it's not supposed to be, I can see if it was one of my hunters and either remove them from the program or, you know, try to find out if it wasn't one of my hunters, where it came from. That's important to do. I think that makes people feel more comfortable that a hunter's not going to release an arrow unless he knows where it's going to go. And knowing where it's going to go is you being responsible for it, knowing that somebody has a picture of it. That prevents, you know, unethical or shots on property that they shouldn't make. I don't expect my individual hunters to do that, but you know, good fences make good neighbors. Pictures of arrows make good hunters. So, next page here, this just kind of gives you an idea of, I know where the deer are moving at different times during the day. Kind of skip that. Sagaponic hunt area, we have Sagaponic. And if you go to the last page really quick, this is what I give a hunter before they go out. They know the address that they're at. They know where they have to park, this little truck symbol up there, this little stand symbol. I've already assessed the property for safety and where they should be, and that they should stay in that exact spot. And I've gotten permission from neighbors around the area to be within 150 feet of their lived-in dwelling. So we follow all the rules set by the state, and I typically go a little above that and make sure that people in the area that we're hunting in either know about us, are okay with it, or they tell us when they're leaving for the season. I have a whole list of dates of when each individual is going to leave to go wherever they go for the winter, and they say, you know, my property is available to your use. So I have insurance to cover me, I have insurance to cover hunters, and also Sagaponic is listed as additionally insured. As that comes in, I send Rody a copy of that every year, and that's as fast as I can do it and tell you how the program works. If you have any other questions or concerns, you can call me, and if a homeowner requests me to hunt there, usually I'm there within 24 hours.
Thank you.
And that's the whole program.
This question, is this the migration report you have? Is that what that says?
Basically what that does is, if you little pictures of the deer, it kind of shows them how they move from each of the areas.
Okay.
And those are herds, those aren't just individual deer. That's their bedding grounds. If you go down, you know, off Fairfield Pond there, the deer bed around it, they move up, and they cross Daniels, they'll end up in the fields over there, and they move in different directions. And that kind of gives you an idea of what it is. And it's not just me, I have, you know, really experienced individuals that have done this on Shelter Island. I talk to hunt control specialists that deal with colleges all throughout the nation, and we feed each other different information, and it helps us understand how to manage, you know, 4 square miles. If you don't understand it as a whole, you'll miss different areas, and then the deer will breed and populate there. And then once we leave in April, by the end of May, they'll spread out through Sagaponic.
Yeah, appreciate your thoroughness.
No problem.
All that detail.
Thank
Good job, John.
Great.
Thank you all.
Thanks, John.
Great seeing you, and we're already starting, so you'll see us around, and if you have any problems, you know who to call.
Yes.
Thanks, John.
You are.
Assembly permit application for the Wolfer Estate Harvest Party, October 13th.
Yeah.
This is something they do every year, I suspect.
Yes.
So, it's just something we vote on?
Yeah.
Okay. The event, the Wolfer State Harvest Party, and it is on Sunday, October 13th, rain date of October 14th. Located at 139 Sag Main Street. Times from 12 to 4. And it is at Vineyard, they expect 525 people, 75 working it, 600 people altogether. Description is lunch, barrel rolling, grape stomping, games, and live music. The number of vehicles expected is 400. They have a ballet company. It says Herm Lamson, I think it's Herb Lamson. Her, okay, okay. And there will be security from Roman Stanford LLC. Fresh Flavors is the catering company, National Waste is the refuse company. There will be Porta John's, 24-foot trailer with 8 stations, there's a handicap portable toilet, it's from Outback, is the company. Regular, okay, no police, no highway, no buildings. There's a PA sound system, a live band, no lighting, 1 generator, it's an annual event. So I guess the parking is not in their parking lot, no.
Yeah, it's all
It's
it's
all within
it's all
the,
maintained on the site.
which is 3 acres, right?
It's that interior, it's like behind the one there.
Yeah, 3 acres, right. Okay. Any questions?
Oh, sounds good.
Make a motion to approve this.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye. Very good. Had a new member come forward as an alternate to the AHRB. I don't know, I spoke to her quite a while ago. Asked her to, actually, she was interested, recommended by Megan Albuquerque. And I forget, I don't remember the whole bio, but she's a PhD in some kind of,
It's in your book.
it's in there?
The next page under new business.
That's Irina, yeah.
Yeah. She's definitely into design. She's a PhD specializing in art and architecture of a different time period, but definitely into design. Anyway, we need another alternate, so she can try it out for a year and see how it all works.
Because I know.
Oh, you know her? Oh, is that
Yeah, she's very
somebody we should not?
Positive or negative?
Her husband maybe.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no, I'm kidding.
All
No,
right.
she's a very bright, very conscientious woman.
Oh,
I
good.
actually know the whole thing.
Oh. They're on
They're on
Sag
Sag
Main, right next to, just south of Vonnegut's house.
Yep.
Yeah. And the one folk I told her, I asked her about, grievances, other real estate interests, all that kind of stuff. And I happened to mention that I hated hedges. And she has a hedge around her house. So anyway.
She still wants to be on the board.
Yeah, still wants to be on the board. I'll make a motion to appoint her to a 1-year position as an alternate on the AHRB. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you everyone for your time. I know it's a thankless job. I sit on a couple, I sit on like 3 boards, without compensation, and you can never make everybody happy. It's tough.
Thank you.
But thank you for coming. Let's keep rocking here.
Discussion items. We did the drainage, Sag Pond Court, composting on agricultural fields. The cost of getting rid of any kind of yard waste. This is aimed at yard waste. Nothing, if a farmer wants to compost manure, potatoes, anything, not a problem. That's not what this is all about. This is about farm fields becoming a dump site for wood chips, brush, grass clippings, leaves, all that. My son told me the last dumpster, he has a lot of stuff that he disposes of, plant material. And normally over the years, I can't remember the volume, but it's quite a volume of stuff. Anyway, you got a 30-yard dumpster and the price was now $3,000 for a 30-yard dumpster. And if you notice, I think it's Windmill Nursery up in Hedges. If you look straight out, you'll see a pile of stuff out there. That's a minor pile, and I don't think anybody's smelling it because there's no complaints, but it's possible for that type of thing to become a major business. And
Where is it?
Well, the end of hedges.
I wouldn't say it's minor anymore. I'd say it's pretty big. They have trucks going in there
Oh,
every
they
day,
do?
every
Oh,
day.
well, I'm not by that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who knows what it's doing to the ground? I have no idea. I don't know.
With all the trees in it?
Yes.
That's, yeah, it's the tree.
Take a look in the,
tan. Where is that?
take a look in the back. It's hidden in the back. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wainscot. That's-
And
but
they
we
have a
don't
truck
want-
entrance in there, and every morning when I take my dogs to the beach, there's trucks lined up to get in there.
Really? I started to notice, if you're on the the south lanes of the Long Expressway, just before exit 69, there's a major composting operation going there, Long Compost, totally legal in that town. And I noticed it because of the smell. We just don't want that in Sagaponic. I don't think anybody's going to preserve farmland if it starts being used for that purpose. And farmers under this would, my proposal would do whatever they want, but they can't bring in yard waste from everywhere else, generate truck traffic and odors. Anyway, I was going to ask Mr. Egan to work on some kind of legislation to pick out that one particular item and prohibit it. I just wanted to bring your attention to it, see if anybody had an opinion that they wanted. Stops yard waste disposal being processed on our farm fields.
I think it's a good idea to look into that
Yeah,
property you and I discussed on Daniels Lane.
right, yeah. So we're okay. Mr. Egan's gonna see if he can work up something that will pick specifically on that, not on farm operations, but kind of,
Import,
yeah,
imported waste.
Imported waste.
Genesis waste.
On agricultural fields.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Which is something we need to think about if we are able to acquire any properties to get that.
Right. Okay, well, you work on it.
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
Yep. The rest of this is paying bills. I think we're still financially sound.
At the moment, yes, we are, Bill.
I'm gonna make a motion to expend from the general fund amount of $51,500.47.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion to expend from the tree fund the amount of $284. All in favor? I'll make a motion to expend from the trust and agency planning fund $1,422.50.
Second.
All in favor? I'll make a motion to expend from the capital highway fund the amount of $7,045. All in favor? And the final one, this is returns of deposits for road openings or something like that, where we make guys who are gonna dig in our right of way put up a bond, which is refundable if they don't leave any damage. So for those bonds, they've performed on their bonds and we're returning their money. So I'm gonna make a motion to expend from the trust and agency account amount of $10,000. All in favor? Do we have an attorney? Is he,
No.
no?
She said I could make this much
Oh,
famous
okay.
$10. Stuff.
Okay.
I still on.
Okay. So our next board meeting
Oh, I'm
is.
sorry, Bill, you have one more, Village Hall Fund on the last page for your expenses.
Okay. I'll make a motion to expend from the Village Hall Fund $1,850.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. The next meeting's on September 18th. And public input, another shot at it. Lee, did you want to have another? Okay. Michael Davis, did you have something to say?
Yeah, a couple of things. Good afternoon, Bill and members of the board. Thank you for your service and your hard work. I want to keep this very quick. I don't know, Bill, I'm sorry, do you want my address? 206 Parsonage Pond Road.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bill, I don't know if you're familiar with Steve Mazaneski's facility. I think it's on McGee Street in Southampton, where he will take any kind of refuse, debris, and all that, and understand that he takes it to Calverton and he reprocesses into mulch and compost and all sorts of other things. I think that, you know, if everybody was made aware of that, that might solve part of the problem. But anyway, the reason for my coming on here is to request a couple of revisions to the code, which I hope you will open the debate on. They primarily come as a result of people living so much more outside as a result of the pandemic, and also with the advent of some modern technology. I don't know how many years ago now it was, but I suspect it was close to 12, 15 years ago that we brought in the pergola law. And the pergola law is defined in the code as an open trellis, basically. So what has happened in more recent years is that somebody had the bright idea of making these out of aluminum and making them motorized. The beauty of that is that it not only controls the amount of sunlight that's coming through, but also when you leave and you leave your furniture underneath it, you can completely close it and your furniture doesn't get covered in dew or wet from rain. So I don't know if you're like me, but you're bringing your cushions in, bring your cushions out, you know, it's a hassle. And if you try the awning thing, you have to put a wind and a rain detector on so that it really doesn't do the job. So I would love you to reconsider introducing the wording motorized open trellis as an amendment to the code. And maybe, I don't know how you go about this, whether this is an item for the agenda at the next meeting, but I'm sure I could bring in a lot of professionals and residents who right now are trying to find ways of getting around this code. I can tell you of the some 50 houses that I built in Sagaponack, some of which obviously were built before the village code, but some of which are built after the code, that the majority of people are now putting canvas awnings on them, some of which are waterproof, and then they take them off at the end of the season. But that is actually that actually isn't in compliance with the code. And so I think we should have a code that really is practical and not one that people have to do work post CO or post certificate of compliance. So if you want to set it on an agenda at some point, I'm sure, muster a whole bunch of professionals and residents who would like to have something to say about it, if you feel it's necessary. But I just think it just needs to be updated because it wasn't in existence when the pergola law was put into place as an option.
So just to clarify, are you asking the board to consider these motorized structures to be or treated like a pergola where there's a 300 square foot allowance, meaning they don't get charged for that 300 square foot? I mean, I don't know what you're asking the board to look at. So maybe do you understand what he's asking for? Okay.
I think you're saying that the motorized, unless it's a fixed pergola or fixed fins, that motorized should not qualify for the exemption.
He wants it to.
No, I'm saying that motorized should qualify for the exemption because it enables you to keep the rain out, keep the dew out at night. And it's really not an eyesore in any way whatsoever. And so I'm just asking for motorized pergolas to be included as part of the pergola code.
Right, so in our code, the pergola has a very distinct definition. And in that definition, what you're describing right now as the motorized where they close would not fit into that definition that would allow the homeowner to get that 300 square feet free. And you'd like the definition of pergola to change to include this motorized
That is
system.
correct. I'm only just saying that because, quite frankly, you can install one of these and not have it powered. You can get it inspected by John, and then after John has given you a certificate of compliance, you motorize it. So I don't believe there should be codes that one can get around. I just think codes need to be updated as technology gets updated. And I don't know about you guys, but I have outdoor furniture, as do most homeowners, and if you can, and outdoor dining, and the benefit of having dry furniture all the time, unless of course you get a 4-inch rainfall sideways or something like that, like we had the other day, is a huge benefit.
Can I ask you a question? Is this a hypothetical scenario, or has the village interpreted the motorized pergolas not to be included? Because
Correct, Brian. That's what I was just gonna ask you too.
So,
Right. So the building inspector treats this particular structure not as a pergola, but an accessory structure,
So
correct?
it's to the total square feet of the house, that's what has happened. So you're looking for an exception with the new automated systems that doesn't qualify for total square footage allowed. Is that
Well, right now we have a 300 square foot allowance, right? I'm just asking for that 300 square foot allowance. The wording of the definition of a pergola, which most of the time is open slatted, but when you leave it, or when you want to reduce the amount of sunlight coming through, you can actually turn the louvers, motorize the louvers so that less sunlight is coming through.
But these things are just more than motorized. They're actually sidings to them, correct, and everything else, no? You're just
Exactly. There are some manufacturers who do retractable bug screens that come out of the legs. They're not visible. But most of us don't suffer from bugs in Sagaponic anyway. So I don't know what.
And what would you want the group? Right now it's 300 square feet. This would be an exception with the automated process, is what you're asking. You're saying people are doing this in the outpost.
Well, I'm on the record when I was unfortunately responsible for this pergola law, because I think our former mayor didn't really take kindly to the whole idea, and there were a number of members on the board who just didn't want to see any kind of change. And pergolas generally are actually a very attractive aesthetic item in your backyard, most of which are never seen by anybody other than people who are living there or visitors coming there. So I'm just asking. I would love to see the 300 square feet allowance expanded, but appreciate that it can come out of your house allowance if you want it to be bigger. But all I'm asking for is for the pergola definition to be updated to take into consideration not only modern technology, but also the benefits to homeowners who can keep their furniture dry and themselves dry if they want to stay underneath it and they're having a dinner and rain stops play.
So it's the definition of our pergola that is in code right now that you get that 300 square foot allowance. What Michael just described does not fit that definition. So John will not, it's an accessory structure. He doesn't give the 300 square foot allowance for it as it is described in our code book right now. And Michael is asking to have that definition expanded to include these more modern pergola designs.
I've seen them.
Yeah.
They're appropriate, but again, there has to be probably a limit on these things too. You don't want 1,000 square feet of this.
Well, the thing is that it's 300 square feet. That's what's in the code.
Right.
So
We can discuss
you don't
it.
have to expand that 300 square feet. And so anything above that 300 square feet will apply to the accessory structure square footage.
Got it.
as it does now with the, if you don't.
Pergola.
If your pergola is greater than what's in there, you'll get the 300 square feet for that, part of that. The way John calculates it.
Right.
We'll take a look and discuss it with the building inspector.
Yeah, I had a brief conversation with John before your meeting, and I said, you know, John, that we can install these things in, but there's nothing stopping you having an aluminum, which doesn't necessarily look like an aluminum structure, but there's nothing stopping you having a pergola under the definition made of aluminum, right? And we can have him, we can put it up, and we can have him come and inspect it. We can get a certificate of compliance, and then after he's left, we just turn the power on, all right? Or we put the motor in. So I don't believe there should be codes that can work, you can work around. I could actually go on to the generator code, with location code, which is a whole nother subject, but I won't at this particular juncture, because that's so totally impractical. If we had the Southampton.
Hey, Michael,
code,
okay,
right?
we got that. Was there something else?
There was. And the other thing is unenclosed porches. All right.
Okay, that actually, let me just cut you off. That's already being looked at by the AHRB. We have a new chair, and I gave that to her, and they'll bring that up at the next meeting. So that's something which they seem to be interested in as a way to change the look of some of the houses, which
because
as you said, that people would rather have an extra bedroom than have the porch.
Yeah,
But
so what we're ending up with is
porch instead of, okay.
Right, we're ending up with architecture that is boxes that has a 20 by 20 stick out for an outdoor living room, and it's just not conducive to, you know, to definitely agrarian architecture, you know.
Yeah, so that's something they actually should look at the next meeting. So good suggestion. Thank you.
All the board members know what we're talking about.
I don't, but I can
David
get filled
does.
in later.
Bill, do you understand?
No.
Gary, do you understand?
Sort of.
Bill, just give a quick explanation.
Actually, the Megan Outerkirk, when I approached her about this, she said, oh, well, we made the decision to not have a porch or not have a big porch because we wanted another bedroom, which was exactly the point that Michael had made. He said a lot of people, they know the house would look better with a porch, but they go, well, I'm gonna lose this over here. So they say, oh, forget the porch. So the Architectural Review Board has these big boxy houses, which would look better if you had an allowance specifically for a porch.
Right.
And so they're gonna look at it and see if they think there's houses which would have been benefited from this type of change.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, that would be back to you because it would be a change to the code. So
Yeah,
you would
right.
have to-
They would simply.
Right, it would just be a recommendation from
They
them.
thought this was a good thing.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for showing up.
Okay, yeah, I did show up personally, but I didn't realize I was running into the cell tower.
Yeah, we're running late. Yeah.
I'm sure. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Lee, you're gonna get the last
I'm
word.
very brief, but I want you to very carefully consider this Gibson Beach access. And the reason that I say that is because it's across the railroad bridge, just across the railroad bridge. That would be people who could not come to Gibson Beach. I mean, you
That's
just
not
think,
true.
about it.
It's
No,
not
but
true.
wait, they'd have to buy a permit.
Yeah.
So my sense is that we have regional beaches here. Thank God they still exist. And even with the Southampton town permit, you can get them. And we're part of a region. We're not just a fiefdom here.
Yeah.
So, or fiefdom, whatever you say it. So it's the idea that, you know, there are people that enjoy that beach that presently buy a sticker to go to a beach. And I see that as just being one other limit to the people surrounding us. Might not be the 1%ers, but I think that should be available to people that just want to go to the beach, across the railroad bridge. Take a canoe across the top, whatever. All right, that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Make a motion to close the meeting.
Hold on.
Oh, okay.
I would like to call a quick executive meeting.
Oh.
For what?
Cell towers.
Can't do that.
Can't go to, no.
I can't do it?
Why not?
It's not one of the permissible uses of executive law under the public.
I did
law.
it.
Did it the last time.
No, we did it for, no, we didn't do it for cell phone.
Yes, you did, I was
No,
not
no, no, we did for matters of contract negotiation, litigation.
All right, well then maybe that's what should be said.
Well, I should say it, I just want to be crystal clear.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that. Okay, so Carrie is making a motion. Contract litigation, let me get this right. Carrie's making a motion to go into executive session to discuss contract negotiation and possible litigation. Right. All right.
Okay, you're excluded, so.
Is there I don't have a second, I need a second.
Oh.
Is there a second on this motion?
Second.
We all in favor?
Sure.
Aye.
Yeah.
4:20, 5:20. 5:20. Okay, this is executive session, so you're gonna have to, yes, you'd have to leave. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.